guys and gals, Nary here from Drake Queen Gaming, and 7 Mounts Twitter the Gaming Drag. Today I'm coming back at you with a Let's Play episode of No More Future. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump right back into it, shall we? Alarm chain, you are up, and let's go! Alrighty. How long had he been observing the two of you for exactly? Now, that's not how one's meant to greet others when in public, Isaac. It's impolite. Isn't that right, Mr. Morgan? The canine shifts his gaze to the Drake sitting opposite you, as if gauging his reaction. Though Jasper's clearly annoyed at your blunt reaction as well, the main brunt of his aggression appears to be directed exclusively towards the unexpected guest, much to your relief. The android has a point, Bradbury. Your presence here is rather unexpected. So tell us what you're doing here before my mood begins to sour. Bradbury dodges Jasper's cold stare and threatening words with the finesse of a cheetah. Ah, my apologies. I had no idea you weren't having a great time. From over here, I honestly thought you were hitting it off quite nicely. But to answer your question, I just so happened to stumble upon this restaurant while on my late morning jog and decided to stop here for lunch. Completely on a whim, of course. Bullshit, you immediately think, unamused with the canine's futile attempt at deception. Judging from the look on Jasper's eyes, he's having very similar thoughts himself. Right. So you just happened to stumble onto me and the android on the one occasion we decided to have lunch together. That is the gist of what I'm saying, yes. And you came to the one restaurant that's supposed to be closed to the general public right now. The canine lifts an eyebrow tiredly, and you're unsure whether that's because he doesn't have an answer or because he thinks the question's pointless in the first place. How did you even get here? I took the elevator, same as you did. You didn't think I'd take the stairs, did you? No offense, but we are more than 20 stories up, and my physique isn't quite the same as it once was. You only have time to question the veracity of Bradbury's explanation as the same skunk from earlier in the afternoon comes back to your table, a frantic expression on his face. Our sincerest apologies, sir. We have no idea how this man managed to sneak inside. The man looks at the CEO like a criminal fearing for his life. If he didn't look so uncomfortable, you'd almost find it pathetic. Fortunately, though, the dragon appears quite upset at this unexpected development in your outing. He stops himself from unleashing it on the well-meaning waiter. Forget about that. Just make sure that doesn't happen again. Needless to say, the skunk is relieved to hear this. I understand, sir. We will fix this problem right away. No one else will trouble your meal moving forward. Right as he says so, you notice a pair of bulkier weasels approaching the table, wearing similar garments to the waiters. Though they wear sunglasses, or what appear to be sunglasses, their harsh frowns and cracked fists makes their intentions unmistakable. The skunk suddenly turns to face Bradbury. Speaking of, sir, I must kindly ask you to leave. The St. Bernard hardly reacts to the waiter's request, and even pretends to take a sip from his empty glass to really drive a point to whom he isn't moving. With a heavy sigh, the skunk motions for the guards, and they calmly resume their walk towards the canine, only to abruptly stop at the Drake's command. No, you can stay. You're bewildered by what you just heard, so is the skunk and the two weasels for that matter. Only Bradbury appears to smile at the Drake's orders, almost knowingly so. Are you sure, sir? Always. He can join our table, but he'll pay for his share of the meal on his own. The dog laughs at his notion. My, how rude, and here I thought you were a gentleman. Jasper's frowning intensifies ever so slightly at Bradbury's joke, but is otherwise unconcerned. He doesn't even flinch as the St. Bernard stands up and walks over to your table, bringing his chair with him. While the two security guards hardly react as they return to their post on the other side of the locale, the skunk appears more unsettled than ever. As you wish, sir, though I must warn you, the kitchen's only cooking a full-course meal for 2 people now. It'll take a while for us to catch up to... It's alright. Now it's your turn to suddenly speak up, not wanting this conversation to drag on any longer. You can have my half of the meal. I'm not hungry anymore anyway. After everything you've heard, and especially not after seeing Bradbury here of all places. You can have your leftovers if he wishes. You can even choke on them for all you care. See? This is more like what I had in mind. You could learn quite a lot from your synthetic friend, Mr. Morgan. So I hear, Bradbury. So I hear. After some more time spent bantering and casting suspicious glances on one another, the waiters return to your table with 2 bowls of what looks like soup and assorted vegetables. You try to listen to the name of the dish for once, but you honestly can't pick up a word of what the skunk is saying. Half the sounds the waiter used seem to be like they've been made up on the spot. Nonetheless, after yet more needless dish presentations, the men return from whence they came, leaving the three of you alone once again. Sorry if I'm messing my words up, y'all. I'm a little bit high right now. While the two men respectfully dig into their heels, you quietly turn to face the Drake sitting opposite you. Okay, but for real, are you sure this is alright? With Bradbury, I mean. Jasper raises an eyebrow at your query. You mean with letting him stay? You silently nod to him. You'd be lying if you said the St. Bernard's presence at the table wasn't making you at least somewhat uncomfortable just by itself. As fun as it would have been to see it happen, you just don't throw out the head of the FBI, android. The repercussions simply aren't worth it. The what now? You have to do a double take upon hearing Jasper's title for the canine at your side. You suddenly turn towards the dog, a mixture of surprise, anger, and fear in your eyes. You didn't tell me you were the head of the FBI yesterday! And immediately shift your gaze onto the Drake once more. And you didn't tell me that either! Not that Mary was any better for that matter. All she said was that Bradbury was in charge of the Department of Overseeing Synthetics, not that he was in charge of the whole thing. But that's a discussion for another day, it would seem. Jasper reacts with nothing but nonchalance at your sudden outbursts, as per usual, and the same can be said for Bradbury. I thought he'd already told you. And I thought it irrelevant at the time. It had nothing to do with why I came to your place, after all. Second, y'all. Water time. Alright, guys and gals, and we are back. Let's jump right back into it, shall we? Okay. Nope. Sorry about that. Okay. Unauthorized, I might add. The St. Bernard turns to look at you upon hearing the dragon's unfriendly remark, a confident smirk on his lips and a playful tone in his voice. Goodness, what a man, am I right? I'm surprised you managed to last this long under that gaze of his. As friendly as the dog is trying to be with you, you're smart enough to not let yourself be fooled by this poor facade. His only interests lie with you. He made that abundantly clear yesterday. Instead of giving him what he wants, you take the opportunity to redirect the conversation away from yourself as much as you can. You two don't get along very well, do you? Bradbury raises an eyebrow at your question, almost curious. Really now, does anyone get along with him? Okay, that was a little funny. The annoyed look on Jasper's face most certainly is, at least. Alright, you made yourself clear. All jokes aside, can you really blame him? I mean, I am kind of his boss, and... You are not my boss! The Drake's answer is curt and firm. The owners are, and I answer to no one else. Certainly not to you. Now, you know that's not true. Sure, you might answer to the owners, but Pandora answers to the government. Been that way for quite a while, actually. After all, someone needs to regularly check that you don't accidentally nuke the whole world again, don't they? St. Bernard's words are more than enough to unsettle you and the dragon both, I bet for clearly different reasons. It's not exactly hard to figure out what he's talking about. So yes, Mr. Morgan, in a way, you do answer to me, even if I try not to let it weigh on you too much. The Drake remains silent but defiant. He's clearly not in the mood to reply to Bradbury's taunts. Seeing as though he can't elicit a reaction from him, the FBI agent turns to face you instead. I don't think he appreciates it. Do you, Isaac? Alright, this is starting to get a little annoying, you reckon? Why are you talking to me like that? Stop it! I'm not your friend, even if you'd like me to be. You expected Bradbury to react harshly to your comments, and yes, it doesn't look like he minds your passive aggressiveness all that much for whatever reason. Fair enough. I was just trying to act friendly, that's all. Someone here needs to balance out all that doom and gloom of Jasper's with some positivity, after all, and from the looks of it, it's not going to be you. Well, he certainly nailed that last part, alright. After everything you've learned just now with Jasper, you're in no mood for smiles or jokes. But you can't afford to indulge in these feelings right now. That's exactly what the St. Bernard wants you to do, if you had to guess. You need to divert his attention away from you as much as you can, and hope that'll prevent him from finding out anything that he can use against you. Well, why don't you invite your synthetic friend over to lighten the mood, Hen? I'm sure we'd all enjoy the extra pair of eyes on us at all times. You said you were in no mood for jokes, yet Bradbury pretends to laugh at your comments nonetheless. Ah, you're referring to Harlan. He's currently preoccupied with some ordinary maintenance back at our headquarters. Synthetic bodies are quite a fair bit more durable than organic ones, but they still need a little spa treatment every once in a while. You didn't say agent. There's an interruption as Bradbury raises an eyebrow once again, evidently annoyed. Pardon me? You didn't say Agent Harlan, just Harlan. You didn't use agent yesterday either, now that I think about it. You'd be lying if you said you didn't feel at least a little proud of yourself for spotting this little detail, even if you're not sure how much it even matters. Nonetheless, Bradbury clearly hesitated to call Harlan an FBI agent for a reason. You might as well dig deeper into that now that you have the chance. Ah, that. Like I said yesterday, Harlan's circumstances are a little more complicated than yours. I'm aware. Mary told me all about them just a few hours ago. She talked about your little deal and how she has no idea who Harlan is even supposed to be. Instead of Bradbury's reaction, you're surprised to hear Jasper's quiet cackling coming from the other side of the table. Dr. Shelley, telling you things? Color be shocked. Wow, what a jackass. Now it's your turn to sit silent and dumbfounded as your two companions take the piss on you, those jerks. Finally, after some time spent laughing at your ignorance, Bradbury tries to change the subject. Now, let's not be mean to our synthetic friend, Mr. Morgan. He's not my friend. And just as it first appeared, Jasper's smirk dissipates into an angry frown. It doesn't upset you, of course. You're already well aware of the Drake's feelings towards you. It's just a little scary to see him shift like that all of a sudden is all. Of course. How could I forget? Anyways, I take it you're interested in learning more about Harlan. Perhaps it's because you're still a little shaken up, but you can feel all your bravado from earlier rapidly disappear. What's the point? You're probably not going to tell me anything anyway. It'd be weird for you to suddenly open up about this stuff with me when you clearly had no intention to do so with Mary. I have to say, I don't follow your logic in the slightest, or share it for that matter. But you're correct in assuming that this is neither the time nor place to recount this story. It's full of blood, gore, and all sorts of unsightly details. A tale entirely unsuitable for children or the dinner table. As much as I'd love to share it with you, I prefer keeping my lunch inside my stomach for the time being. Maybe another time. Odd. Aside from Bradbury's vain attempt at humor, the way he explained himself just now felt rather genuine. You're left confused as to whether he's fucking with you or whether you simply can't accept him being truthful for a change. Ah, but enough about me. I didn't mean to steal the show from you, gentlemen, I promise. Why don't you tell me more about what you're doing here? It's not every day that Pandora's CEO and one of their finest synthetics will wind up dining at the same locale. Now that's a question, alright, and you're not sure how to reply to. The owners of Pandora forced us to do this is the correct answer, but again, you're not sure whether being upfront about that with the St. Bernard is the optimal choice. Second now. Clearly the Drake doesn't think so. No reason. I invited the synthetic merely for entertainment's sake. You could say we came here purely on a whim, same as you did. Now that's a nice way of using Bradbury's own lies against him. You have to admit, Jasper truly has a way with words. Bradbury seems to think the same. Entertainment, you say? Why, that's not very kind to our dear friend here, now is it? The last thing you want is for him to assume that, for crying out loud, he's not my... I know. Goodness, you can be so one-note sometimes. I'm just saying, behaving so rudely in front of your guest isn't going to do you any. Don't even try. Your response is swift and cold, enough so to catch even the canine off guard. You don't get to make jokes like that, not after what you did yesterday. After giving you a strange look, the St. Bernard erupts in an endless cackle. My, I had no idea the atmosphere around this table was so tense. Are these knives even necessary at this point? Whatever the two of you were discussing must have been really spicy. Again, you hesitate to look the man in the eyes, feeling almost ashamed of your earlier discussion with the dragon. We weren't discussing anything. I was just telling him more about my past and... Please. Jasper immediately interrupts you, a stern look in his eyes. Don't insult our guest with your poor acting, android. He's already aware of our past conversation. He wouldn't have approached if he hadn't heard enough already. That sounds just about like what you'd expected indeed. You'd already figured that about Al Bradbury hadn't come to the table to have a hearty laugh at your expense. You just hoped you'd be able to delay this moment for as long as possible and maybe even evade it. Alright, y'all, I'm actually going to pause it right there. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and I love you all, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye-bye!